Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nobody SMP. Whoa, we flow. Last episode, we built this awesome, what is this called? Street, railroad? No, street. We built this awesome street. Remember, it has the sidewalks and everything, and yeah, that's what street has. That's what streets are. Hard like words and English. Anyway, woo. Last episode, we built this awesome street. It comes down from the city, and we also carved out this area right here. If you remember where these two blocks were, that's actually how high it is. So then we did a bunch of TNT and pew, 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 blow, explosions, and then smooth it all out. But today's episode, I mentioned it in the last how it's going to be a lot of housekeeping for the next couple episodes. However, today's probably the last day of, a separate POI or a point of interest, really, because over here we want to start our farm. So over here is where we're going to have our beach resort, our vacation area, and the villas, and then the city stuff will all be over there, and then some underground towns and stuff through these back alleyways. Essentially, my whole vision is to flatten this all the way across the river, and flatten this minus this cave pretty much to the other side of this. So it'll be that flat, right? This flat all the way over. And then we can enclose the iron farm as a building. We can enclose this as kind of our back alleyway. And then all the way out through here, we'll put more buildings and more buildings. And then that I need to change to be like a quote unquote bad guy. And then up top, we'll have like the super high fancy apartments. There's actually here, I can probably do this faster free cam. No, I can't. I can fly over faster. Over here, right there's that ice. I actually kind of want to make that like a massive above ground pool. So I'm thinking about doing flat, making this flat all the way out to here too, and then kind of naturally, gradually put it down. And then this I can make like the top of a high end apartment building, but it can't be higher than TCRI because TCRI is going to be the highest point of the entire map, at least so far. And over this way is where I said we wanted to do our nice, is where we wanted to do our farm. I don't want it so close that it's like you could fly up and see everything from where you are. So I'm thinking we might do it in this area right here, just where I am right now, because if you kind of look at it, it's kind of sectioned off in its own little. Here, let's get down to the ground real quick, just like this, nice and easy. It's kind of sectioned off between this river. So I'm thinking if this is the farm area, it's a pretty big area we're going to get rid of. So we got to get rid of all the trees right here. I think if that's the quote unquote farm area, then it's not too big of a trek to get to the vacation or to the city. The city, like I said, is going to be out to here. So you'll actually just go through these valleys right here to get to the quote unquote new city. But I wanted a farm area at least just because I like making farms. I feel like if we had a farm area, a city, and a beach area, I feel like those are our biggest point of interest. And then an underground area on the other side by our wheat farm that we have over there that we never use anymore because we have golden carrots. But that doesn't matter. So I actually, usually in other Minecraft videos, this is where someone cuts to hanging out with some other people. But I'm just gonna go straight into a time lapse because I don't have to wait for anybody. So I'm just gonna get started on breaking down some of these trees. I might lay out a perimeter, and we'll go from there. Ready, set, go. All right, nice little time lapse done. I actually think it turned out pretty good if we get an aerial view. This is at least the start of how big I wanted to have it. It's nothing too crazy, but I do like it. And down here you can't tell that. Obviously, you can with the beacon, but you can't really tell that anywhere else. However, if you see this log, it's not lit up. So we need to go down here and make sure that everything is safe because I do not want anything spawning under here that's not supposed to. Which kind of is scary because I don't know exactly how many spots there are that need to be modified. Where is the exit to this? Where did I come in from? Right here. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, we're just going to leave that right there just so we can see. And then I think there's another one just over here. Yep, just right over here. And if we go into here like this, we can make everything spawn proof. The last thing I want is see, look at that all the way down there. The last thing I want is a mob farm in underneath our base. Please don't blow up. Oh no! Oh my god! Oh boy, that was very embarrassing. Building the creeper holes, finally got everything lit up, but now what we can do is we can start building out our farm. What I want to do is I actually want to do the animal pens first, just kind of lay out areas where I think the animals are going to need to be, because I want to do multiple farmsteads around here, and there's like a community like right here. So if we just build this, this is where everyone kind of meets in the middle. There'll be a massive bonfire here. But as far as the outskirts will be the homes, and then tucked away will be more animal pens and farms and stuff. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna start from the back and work my way in and see how I like doing that. And then after I will get back to you guys when I'm done with that, and we'll see what the progress is. Okay, so I did a little bit of progress just as far as here. I started outlining where I kind of wanted to go things, and then I just kind of got in a flow, and I made this little farmhouse. Nothing too crazy, just nice and simple little farmhouse. And this is where all the wheat is, and back here is our horse stables. And in some horse stables, what they do is they have like this black mat that they put on the ground because they don't want them to just like scrape their feet up, but it always gets like dirty on the corners, like by a bunch of mud and stuff, and like you're supposed to shovel it all to the corners. So I tried to do that with the leaves. I mean, it comes across kind of, but I wish we had like, you know, a lot of armor stand. I wish you could do armor stands way easier than, you know, than I'd pile some dirt up here. Anyway, through here is their feeding chute, water, food, just for the three of them, right? And then, you know, where the water's getting poured, it's not going to be muddy and stuff. And path blocks, obviously, everywhere. Simple little farm just for like food stuff. And I'll show you the inside real quick. Just they're wheat farmers, obviously, so they're gonna have a bunch of wheat and hay bales. And also on this side, I built this tractor. I thought it'd be funny if we had farmers up here working, and you know they're stockpiling hay and putting it in piles and then starting to throw it onto this trailer. But yeah, they don't like to stay put, so we're just gonna use our imagination, just like that. So down here, I just built this little road. I used the tuff as like the dirt, as like tire tracks, and then yeah, this is just the little tractor. You know, come in here, you got your seat, you know, buttons that do nothing. But imagine just hauling out that way. I'm gonna build a bridge that way, and then I'm gonna put another homestead over there. I think I might do the rest of this bridge that way, and then out here we'll have like animals and stuff on this side. So we'll do the main road this way, and then bridge, and then animals out over here, and then through on this side. I haven't decided what I'm going to do over here yet. Maybe just some more decorations, but in so this would be the first one, right? I guess I could fit two if I wanted to, but this would be the first one, and then a bridge, and then this would be the second one. I'm going to flatten out over here, and then I will flatten out one more over here, so there'll be three farms. And then there's a big long road that heads into the city and then into the, you know, the city that way. So yeah, I actually think this turned out pretty cool though. But yeah, this tractor's, you know, just a little nice little tractor, nothing crazy, and trailer. He's not all, it looks like he's not all the way in, so he's like backing into it. That's why the tire tracks are coming in. And then this is the little hitch that he, you know, this is the hitch that he hooks everything up to. But yeah, I think it actually turned out pretty good. And then, you know, wheat farm, obviously. Okay, so I actually just got kind of I did way more than I thought I was going to actually end up doing. What I did is I actually ended up taking this path all the way down like this, and over here is where we're gonna have a road for bridges. And then I started doing like where the people actually start to walk like this, down here, and you know down here. Over the left side's not done, but the right side's looking pretty good. And then I started messing around with some trees. I just looked up kind of like what trees grow really good on farms, and it said Quakies, and and those are the white ones. But then I made them gray, and just basically the tall and skinny ones, and none of the leaves start to grow until they're at the top. So I just used the combination of spruce at the bottom, then birch, and then actually azalea trees. I only had to get a couple. I think I only chopped down like 20 trees each, did a lot more spruce, and then over here I built us a pig pen that has a gate over here. And it's a little overgrown, and where the mud is where obviously where all the water's going. That's where stuff's gonna grow, right? And then over here, Podsel's still a little wet, so I just imagine some little stuff might grow, but not there. But as far as this side, this is there's not a lot of water over here, so the plants like would be dried up and dead and stuff. And yeah, then just nice little pig shack and got some food. I was thinking about doing this, but here's the thing. I was trying to figure out what one looked the most like pig food, because pigs. The easy answer is yeah, just do hay, right? But I was like, I don't. Not. It doesn't look the most realistic. What I did is I actually did dripstone, and I kind of think it looks a lot like the muck that they eat. You know how they eat just like that weird, gross mucky, whatever. What do they call it? That stuff. And I thought about doing this Podzol, but Podzol works better on the ground than his muck. Like if I'm not gonna have them both be the same, I need to establish nope, this is something different than this. So that's what I ended up doing. So let's give you an aerial review or aerial view real quick. So we got this, our main house and our wheat farm, like we said before. That's gonna go to a bridge, and then these trees. I'm actually gonna line up the whole thing with these trees all the way around, and down this row, down that row. Probably do 3 of them, and then out on this side. Usually farms, if you look at them, they're not really. How do I put it? They're separated from each other pretty well. Like they're actually like some are in straight lines, and then it's just this is the farm, and then they're just lined by trees. Like if you just look up, just go look up farming on like your on Google, and it actually looks like they're all divided by trees. So that's kind of what I wanted to keep, and that's why I picked the jungle, because I know that I can just carve out trees and boom, there's another farm, right? Or not the jungle, the spruce, right? So yeah, but I think this pen turned out really good. Right here, we're going to do either horses or cows. And then I think we could probably do it over here in this corner. It would be a chicken coop. And as far as this side, I don't know right now, but we're going to finish this and do the chicken coop real quick. Probably actually should do a transition here. Should we do a transition from the tractor? See if we can't. If I do this and I scooch over a little bit like this, you can't see anything. And if I break them, then you will be able to see everything that's behind here. Now, what I ended up doing for these trees that I put around here, I actually put a couple more just in these spots because I felt like they were a little too boring. I ended up putting some right here and another one over here and just some more. But on this one, we got our sheep farm, which is this building. And over here, just this little shack is the chicken farm. Nothing too crazy for the chicken farm. The sheep farm, I actually looked up just like reference photos, and I saw one that was it was like all wooden and kind of just had like beams going here and there because I didn't really want to do something crazy for the sheep. I just wanted it kind of open. So yeah, and then obviously sheep or goats, depending, but sheep, they eat everything. So there's like a bunch of dead grass and they don't really come behind much. And, why would they go for this one when this is right here? And then I just stacked up some hay bales. I made sure that no one can walk off any direction, right? Like they can't get up here and find some way out, because they can do this, but you can't get off. I did that the same over at the pigs. But yeah, this place is actually coming around pretty great. And then more path blocks like this. And I don't think I'm going to do another tree here, either on this side as well, just because I kind of like how open it is. But on this front side, I do actually like how this is kind of turned out. So you can kind of tell it's becoming its own little, thing, basically. But yeah, I actually think how this was right. But yeah, I want to talk about these trees a little more. Oh, I got to sweep. Flying in is that's a cool sight to fly into. I actually really like this. So like I was saying, I want to talk about these trees, right? So the wall blocks is actually what I ended up using to make the trunks. I actually think they did really they it looks really, you know, trunk-like. Like, if you look at trees, they're grayish. They're not this perfect brown. Some are, but other aren't. Also, behind here, I didn't like how my trees were not blending in naturally with the rest of them. Like, you could like, these gray ones, they don't blend very well with brown ones. So what I did is just these front-facing ones and the little distance ones, I just switched them all to to pale oak ones. So, I made sure not to destroy them all, 'cause I didn't wanna have to rebuild them, so I just went one by one of replacing all the blocks. But yeah, so it blends a little better. And then as far as, like, what I did for, branches and stuff, the lighter parts are more, like, exposed parts of the trees, like, technically this should be white, but, you know, the most of the water, when it gets sucked up, it goes up to right here, and then sometimes up towards the top, it doesn't go all the way out there, so that's why it's darker down here and lighter up here. At least I think. I don't really know if that's how it works, but in my brain, that's what's gonna happen. And then just for the branches, I just did some fencing, and like I said, I covered them with just different types of leaves and everything. I still don't know what we're gonna do on this side, and kinda as far as what here, I'm gonna think I'll put a couple more trees right here, maybe one right here, and then I gotta go around the perimeter too. But other than that, I think we're gonna pause on that. I know I did a whole tangent last episode about, you know, making sure we finish projects, but I'm gonna pause on that because my brain juices are not flowing right now. And I'm just gonna set up a couple more trees over here. So I want to talk about this building just a little bit more in detail. I really am trying to learn like color gradients and the color wheel and stuff. Learn start thinking about the blocks as more of colors, not necessarily blocks, right? And so what I ended up doing is I actually ended up looking up what that color was right there, and I just found something that was the opposite, right? Because if you wanted to pop, you need to do the opposite. So if you do the same colors here and you want something to pop like the roof or their trim, you do it the opposite color or a not a secondary color, but a you know opposing color about this. So it actually suggested to do some red or blue. And I didn't think I thought red was too bright and blue was too bright. So that's why I ended up with this granite. So up here, this is a very, mute kind of scale of when it comes to, mismatching colors and doing opposites to make stuff pop out. I think the best the best example I have as small of a build as it is really this one because it's all dark with the light, right? So this is the basic design, light and dark. And then you can kind of get into this mode where you start doing different variants of gray, like this one, right? So darker and then it gets lighter, right? But I really want to get in more into the kind of blending phase. Like I want to pick a color, make a build out of it, and then make it pop with like different colors. So I've actually been studying color wheels and stuff and like learning how to make sure, everything flows nice and everything, complements each other. This I actually think I did a really good job on, just because orange is so like orange and gray, they go good together, but they are completely opposite. Same with the red, right? Like the rest is still background, but they complement each other well enough. But as far as here, I needed this to be coherent, that it would, flow naturally and easy. Because you can't just pick a random color and then put it here and then put another one there. You can, which is why these four worked because, well, I guess we could see, which is why these four worked because they complement each other well. So yeah, I'm really trying to learn and hone in on picking colors that blend nice together. And it's a lot harder than I thought. Like I can spend a lot of time thinking of, what build to build and how much energy I need to put into it. 'Cause let's be honest, if you really wanted to, you just throw up any building you wanted to, make it whatever color you want. But I try to make them look somewhat good. So that's what I've just been spending time on the past couple days is doing that, and trying to study and watching a whole bunch of videos on YouTube and even reading up on stuff online. So that's why these trees actually, I know they're both green, but you can clearly see the highlights in them and even the transitions, they make them flow. Because if I just did a dark and a light, it would look nice, but it wouldn't flow as naturally. That's why I had the birch ones, right? So you can, these three together, that's good. That makes the brain happy. If you just did like that and ignore that one, it's too much of a difference. Same thing with these trunks, right? They're all the same. They're all flow. A little bit of highlight right here to make it pop. But other than that, I can't just do all gray or all stone because it doesn't look like bark. There's really only one thing left we have to do, and that is actually go catch the animals. So we need sheep, pigs, and chickens. So actually, I'm going to sleep first. Hold on one second. But because we are in 1.21.6, we can actually lead our animals. So let's make a couple boats real quick just so we can actually... How many boats can we make? I think you can double stack boats together, no? Okay, let's start. Hold on. Let's just start with 3. Yeah, let's start with 3. Go from there. And let's see if we can't corral up some animals to put in there. I'm also going to put these in here just so I don't forget them. What? What is this? When did they change pigs? Ew. When did I miss something in the last update? Because when did they make pigs look this gross? I mean, yeah, you're here. Wait, just don't look at me. No, don't. I mean, you're cute to somebody, but not. Oh, I don't like that. Yeah, I like the other ones. This is. Look at him. Look. He's freaking out. I made him mad. I thought I was recording, but I actually wasn't. So I'm just gonna do this before it turns dark time. I got the pigs in. I don't know how a third sheep got in here, but there's a majestic sheep over here somewhere, and then I got 2 cows over there for the future reference for one of the cows. But let's just do this real quick and get the sheep in real quick, so don't get mad, or at least so we can go to bed. And we'll do this and give my leads back and okay, there we go. We'll go do this to the pigs. These pigs are. I might switch these pigs out because I really don't. They look. I don't know. They're cute, I guess. No, look, they look like dripstone. Oh, creepers already. Not creepers, that's a zombie. We are going to end this episode off here, and I'm going to end it with a time lapse, actually, of me just kind of stocking up these farms over here. Oh, found a rocket, so I gotta land. So yeah, we're gonna end it with a time lapse, but thank you so much for watching, everybody. This has been the Nobody SMP. My name is CJ3PO. Peace.